Her lipstick wasn't red when we left the house. I noticed it the second she leaned across the kitchen counter at that guy's place, laughing at something I didn't hear. Cherry red. Smudged. New. Definitely not the pale shade she had on when we were pulling out of our driveway 40 minutes earlier. She hadn't been gone long enough to reapply anything. And I hadn't been gone long enough to make up this kind of paranoia. But I said nothing. The room was loud. Someone dropped a glass. People clapped. Music thumped through the walls like a second heartbeat. But in my head, there was silence. The kind of silence where your lungs forget how to breathe. I watched her from across the room. My wife, swaying slightly, drink in hand, leaning just a little too close to a man I didn't recognize. She whispered something in his ear. He smiled. She touched his arm. Again, I said nothing. I think I even smiled. I think I nodded at someone passing by, pretending to be a guy who was just chilling at a weekend party, not a husband trying to understand when his marriage stopped being his. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But the way they moved, synchronized, familiar, rehearsed. I'd seen it before. Years ago. That phase of new obsession, when touch becomes a language. I excused myself to the bathroom. I didn't need to use it. I just needed to get out before I did something loud. There was a towel hanging over the sink. It had her perfume on it. Not the one she wore for me. The one I caught a whiff of 2 weeks ago when she said she was going to just coffee with her friend Amanda. The one I smelled again in our car the next morning. I ran my fingers through my hair, looked in the mirror, and whispered, "Don't make a scene. Don't give her a story to tell." So I walked out. Past the bathroom. Past the music. Past her. She didn't even notice. By morning, she'd called 16 times, texted 12, and left 3 voicemails that all started the same. "Can we please talk? I made a mistake." But the real twist? That wasn't the first time. And it definitely wasn't going to be the last. She came home wearing the same dress, but the woman who walked through that door wasn't the one I married. Her smile was missing. Her voice, usually sharp and defensive, was quiet, almost rehearsed. I didn't ask where she'd been. She didn't offer. She just stood in the doorway, holding her heels in one hand, as if walking barefoot through someone else's night made it less real. She finally said, "Can we talk?" And I shrugged like I didn't know what she meant. Like I hadn't watched her wrap herself in another man's energy just hours before. Like I hadn't sat in the parking lot afterward, staring at the steering wheel, wondering how long she'd been slipping away. She didn't cry at first. I think that was her plan. Come in, apologize for flirting too much, maybe blame the wine, blame stress, say something about not feeling seen. And I would do what I always did. Absorb it. Apologize for being distant. Try harder. But when I didn't play my part, when I didn't feed her lines to bounce off, her hands started to shake. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said. That sentence hit me harder than anything else. Not, "It wasn't what it looked like." Not, "I didn't mean to hurt you." Just, "I wasn't supposed to see it." That's when the tears came. I sat across from her at the edge of our bed while she unraveled like a guilty thread. She admitted they hadn't technically done anything that night, that it was just emotional, that it had only started a few weeks ago, and that she didn't know how to end it. I didn't speak. I couldn't. I just watched her pace in circles, trying to shrink a betrayal into something polite. Then she said the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. "He listens to me, Kurt. He sees me." I didn't even know what to do with that. I had given this woman 10 years of my life, moved across states for her, given up job offers, buried parts of myself to keep the peace. And now she wanted to paint herself as the one who'd been invisible? I stood up slowly, heart pounding, hands numb. She thought I was going to scream, or cry, or beg. Instead, I walked into the closet, grabbed a duffel bag, and packed exactly 5 things. Laptop, headphones, chargers, toothbrush, hoodie. When I turned back, she was standing in the hallway, blocking the door. "Kurt, don't do this," she whispered. But I already had. She just hadn't realized it yet. What she didn't know, what I hadn't told her, was that I'd already seen the texts. The late-night ones. The "you up" ones. The hotel address saved as a fake contact name. This wasn't new. The lipstick wasn't just a mistake. It was a warning shot I'd been too blind to hear. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't even look back. But every step down that apartment hallway felt like walking barefoot on broken glass. Not because I was sad. Not even because I was angry. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't pretending anymore. The marriage, The smiles, the blind trust. It had all been a performance. And the show was over. I stayed at a motel off Route 19 that night. You know the kind, buzzing fluorescent lights, water stains on the ceiling, a TV that only works if you hit it twice. But it was quiet. And that's all I needed. I lay on that stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling, playing back her voice in my head over and over. He sees me. He listens to me. She made it sound so simple. Like all I ever did was walk past her in the kitchen without noticing her new earrings. As if I hadn't sat through her endless stories about coworkers I never met, or stayed up through her breakdowns about her sister, her boss, her skin, her hair, her everything. As if I hadn't been the one holding her when she thought she couldn't get pregnant. When we both thought we were cursed. I gave her all of me. She gave pieces of herself to someone else. And what she didn't realize is that while I was packing that night, I didn't just leave my toothbrush behind. I left something on purpose, my old phone. The one she thought I deactivated months ago. But it was still active, still synced to our shared iCloud. And she forgot that. I didn't plan revenge. Not yet. I just wanted truth. Real, raw, unfiltered truth. And within hours, it started pouring in. I lay in that motel bed and watched her call log in real time. 2:04 a.m. A call to Kelly. Except Kelly didn't exist. That number belonged to the man in the maroon suit. I know because I traced it back to his Instagram, the one where he posted a photo 2 weeks ago of the same couch I saw in one of Rachel's hidden selfies. At 2:17, another text. He left. That's all it said. At 2:21, I don't know what to do. At 2:33, a photo of herself in bed, mascara streaked, lips still stained. And then a single line beneath it. He saw us. She still didn't know how much I'd seen. How long I'd known. How carefully I'd stitched together her lies while pretending I believed every word she said. I didn't sleep that night. I just watched, like a ghost observing his own past. And by sunrise, I'd already made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to vanish from the marriage so quietly, so thoroughly, that the silence itself would become unbearable. And in that silence, the truth would rot her from the inside. I thought disappearing would feel satisfying. Like walking away from a wreck before the fire reaches the gas tank. But it didn't. It felt unfinished. I wasn't looking for revenge, not really. I just wanted to stop feeling like a ghost in my own life. So I did what any broken, overthinking, half-delusional man would do at 3 a.m. in a motel room with nothing left to lose. I started digging. Not on her phone. Not on her social media. That was child's play. I went deeper. I went through our cloud backups. Yes, the ones she never bothered to disable. I knew her email password from that time we filed taxes together. I knew her banking habits. Her favorite passwords. The way she always used our dog's name as a security answer, even after he died. What I didn't expect to find was the second hotel charge. Not from the night of the party. No, from 2 weeks prior. A different hotel. Different city. Same man. Paid under her personal checking account. The one she said she only used for gas and lunch. There was no denying it now. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't new. She didn't just fall into his arms after one bad argument with me. This was organized. Planned. Routine. And still, I didn't call her. She called me 5 times that day. Left voicemails. Please, Curtis, I'm begging you to talk to me. I let them rot in my inbox. Then came the texts. I'm scared. I need to explain. You don't understand. I read them all. Replied to none. It was only after the 8th voicemail, where she broke down sobbing, saying she'd fix everything, that I responded. 3 words. Fix what exactly? She called me instantly, like she'd been waiting by the phone with a script in hand. Her voice was soft, fake calm, like she thought she could still steer the narrative. She said she was confused. Said she never meant to hurt me. Said he wasn't real, that it was just an escape. She claimed she never loved him, that it only got physical once, and I was going to end it anyway. I said nothing. Just let her run out of excuses. Then I said, I know about the first hotel. Silence. Not gasping. Not denial. Just a glitch in her breathing. She tried to backpedal, to soften it, twist the timeline, blame stress, blame me, blame her hormones, our lack of intimacy, anything. But I wasn't listening anymore. Because I already knew something she didn't. I wasn't alone in that motel. Someone else had shown up that morning. Someone I never expected. The man's wife. She found me through a shared photo. Said she saw my name tagged months ago on a beach trip. Said the background in that photo matched the picture her husband posted with Rachel. She told me everything. Every date. Every lie. Every gift. Every weekend conference her husband claimed to attend, while Rachel told me she was visiting her sister. I sat across from this woman, Angela, with a coffee between us, watching her shake with the same rage I had swallowed for months. And together, without saying it directly, we began writing the next chapter. Angela wasn't what I expected. I thought she'd be a wreck, or worse, someone looking to make things messy just for drama. But she was calm. Calm in that eerie way people get when they've already passed through every stage of grief and landed in the eye of the storm. She wasn't there to scream. She was there to get answers. And maybe, if we were being honest, get even. She had a folder. I kid you not, an actual manila folder, like this was some kind of courtroom. Inside were screenshots, dates, emails forwarded to herself, even printouts of Venmo transactions with emojis I wish I could unsee. One of them was a champagne bottle followed by fireworks. $267. A boutique hotel in Asheville. She looked me in the eye and said, "They've been doing this for almost 8 months. Mine lies about work trips. Yours lies about girl weekends. They overlap." I made a spreadsheet. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was terrifying. Because part of me was relieved. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. My gut had been screaming for months, and she'd made me feel like I was insecure or controlling. But here it was, black and white. Proof. A full crime scene timeline assembled by someone who knew the same pain. Angela leaned in. "So, what do you want to do?" I didn't have a good answer. I'd spent so long frozen, avoiding conflict, stuffing down suspicion, that now that I had clarity, I didn't know how to move. But Angela did. She said, "They built this lie on comfort, on thinking we wouldn't notice. So I say we take the comfort away." We didn't plan some dramatic public scene. No flying clothes out of windows or social media exposés. No, what we planned was slower, quieter, surgical. A truth grenade that would go off right when they thought they'd gotten away clean. Angela offered to help me move my stuff out of the apartment while Rachel was at work. She'd already kicked her husband out that morning, sent him to stay with a friend. The kicker? That friend was actually a private investigator she'd hired 2 months ago when her gut started turning. She hadn't told him that part yet. While I packed, Angela planted something. Just one thing. A letter. Sealed. Handwritten. Tucked neatly in Rachel's drawer beneath her silk scarves. She didn't show me what it said. "You'll know when she finds it," she whispered. And she was right. That night, Rachel called me 34 times. Texted a dozen more. The last message just said, "What is this? What did you do?" I didn't reply. Instead, I sent one message. "Ask Angela." She didn't respond. But 30 minutes later, Angela did. 3 words. She found it. Whatever she had written, it shook Rachel. And that was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke up to silence. Not the good kind. The charged kind. The kind you feel when someone's trying to decide whether to beg, lie, or burn everything down. Rachel hadn't messaged me since that single frantic outburst, which meant she was planning something. Angela, of course, had been ahead of her. "She'll try to control the narrative now," she said calmly over coffee. "Play the victim. Make you the villain for leaving without a real conversation. They always reach for the sympathy card when the control slips." And she was right, again. By 9 a.m., mutual friends started messaging me. One of her co-workers texted, "Hey man, heard you and Ratch are taking space? Hope you're okay." She said, "You're struggling mentally?" Mentally. That was her angle? I shouldn't have been surprised. She'd hinted at it before, even in our last few arguments. "You overthink everything. You need help?" "Kurt, I mean that kindly. Not everything is about you." Little chips at my foundation until she could frame my sanity as the problem, just in case she ever needed a backdoor excuse. Angela texted me a screenshot. A Facebook post Rachel had shared in her private support circle group. "Sometimes, we're forced to make impossible decisions. I loved him, but I can't help someone who refuses to get help. Emotional abuse is real, even when it's silent." I nearly threw my phone across the motel room. This woman who had snuck around for 8 months, who gaslit me for noticing, who turned her guilt into my diagnosis. Angela, cool as ever, just said, "Perfect. Let her hang herself." I didn't reply. I couldn't. I was too deep in it. Not just the pain, But the humiliation. How many people were now imagining me as some unstable, paranoid husband spiraling while his saintly wife did her best? So I sent one message to one person. My sister. And that changed everything. Because my sister? She'd never liked Rachel. Not since the wedding. She once said Rachel was too good at eye contact, which I thought was a weird thing to say. But now it made sense. Rachel always performed honesty, even when she was lying through her teeth. My sister sent me a message with 3 attachments. Photos, Rachel, and the man, from 3 weeks ago, at a spa, not just in the lobby, not at a check-in desk, in robes, together, taken by, get this, a friend of my sister's who worked there. No one knew at the time it meant anything. But now, every detail snapped into place. And here's the part one didn't see coming. That spa trip? That was the weekend Rachel told me she was visiting her mother because her mother had been diagnosed with early-stage dementia. That lie? That one hit differently. That wasn't just betrayal. That was cruel. And that's when the switch finally flipped in me. I stopped crying. I stopped shaking. I stopped waiting for closure. If she wanted to tell stories, fine. I'd give her one no one would forget. I didn't go nuclear. Not right away. I didn't blast the photos all over social media or send them to her boss or print them on a billboard like some revenge fantasy. No, I did what she did to me. I let the lie breathe just long enough to choke itself. I uploaded the photos to a private album and sent a single link. No context. No message. Just the pictures. To her mother. Cruel? Maybe. But you have to understand. This woman had used her own mother's fake illness as a cover story. Said she was emotionally wrecked because of a dementia diagnosis. Had me send flowers. Had me write a card. Had me believe I was comforting a daughter who was bracing for the long goodbye of watching her mother disappear. And the whole time, she was in a luxury spa in a robe with her affair partner. So no, I don't feel bad. I never will. Her mother called me 15 minutes later, crying, furious. Not at me, at her. She hadn't heard from Rachel in weeks. Had no idea she was being used like that. She thanked me. I told her she didn't have to. The fallout started immediately. Rachel must have seen the album views spike because she messaged me in all caps. What did you do? This time, I responded. I said, telling the truth isn't revenge. It's just long overdue. That afternoon, she lost control of the story. A friend of hers from work, someone who saw the spa pics through a mutual connection, messaged me privately. She said she had suspected something was off for months. That Rachel kept saying things like, Kurt's spiraling again, or he's been so cold to me. But now it made sense. She pre-broke you, the woman wrote, so that when you finally left, she looked like the victim. That phrase stuck with me. Pre-broke. That's exactly what she did. She didn't just lie. She built a soft landing for her future betrayal so she'd never have to feel the full weight of it. Too bad the landing collapsed anyway. Angela wasn't sitting still either. Turns out she'd been quietly meeting with a lawyer. Nothing malicious, just protective. The man, her husband, had joint investments with her, and she wanted to make sure he couldn't drain anything behind her back. But in the process, she uncovered something unexpected. Rachel's name. On a wire transfer. $5,000. Disguised under a consulting invoice for a made-up LLC. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning something. Something financial. I met with the lawyer myself, and we started tracing more. There were breadcrumbs, barely there once. But they pointed to Rachel quietly moving money out of our joint account into crypto wallets, apps I didn't use, platforms I'd never signed off on. It wasn't just cheating. It was a setup. That's when it hit me. I didn't just walk in on a marriage falling apart. I walked into a long con. And now that she knew I wasn't just broken and wandering, she panicked. That night, she showed up at my motel. I didn't let her in. She stood outside the door, pleading through tears. Please, Kurt. Please. I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to come back. I looked at her through the curtain and said, you don't come back from where you chose to stay. And I went to bed. But the real ending hadn't hit yet. Because Angela had one last move planned. And it was brutal. Angela didn't want to destroy Rachel. Not anymore. Not after everything we'd uncovered. What she wanted was what I wanted, peace. Not just the absence of drama, but real peace. A life rebuilt on truth, not reaction. But before we could move forward, there had to be an ending. A clear one. So we gave them one. Angela served divorce papers to her husband on a weekday morning. No fight. No last words. Just a man standing on his own porch, blinking at a courier envelope with his name spelled wrong on the front. He tried to call her. She blocked him. Rachel's ending came differently. She came to my work. Not to scream. Not to threaten. She just stood outside the parking garage, in the same coat she wore the night of that party. The night I saw her from across the room and realized I was already gone. "I'm sorry," she said. Her voice cracked like she wasn't used to apologizing unless it was part of a manipulation. I didn't respond. I never meant for it to get this far. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "It didn't get this far. You took it this far." She nodded, wiped her face, walked away. No final twist. No last attempt to rewrite the past. That was the last time I saw her. It's been 6 months. The motel turned into a sublet. The sublet turned into a rental with real furniture. The panic attacks faded. The constant checking of notifications? Gone. I sleep now. I eat better. I don't flinch when my phone buzzes. I even started hiking again, something I gave up years ago when Rachel said, "That's a solo thing, Kurt. Not couple stuff." Funny how the smallest freedoms feel the biggest after someone spent years telling you they're useless. Angela and I still talk, sometimes. We send each other updates. Photos of small wins. She sent me a picture of her planting a garden in her backyard with her niece. I sent her one of my dog. Yes, I finally adopted one. His name is Boone. He doesn't care about my past. He just wants belly rubs and walks and snacks. Honestly, it's the healthiest relationship I've had in years. I don't hate Rachel anymore. I mean, I don't forgive her, not really, but I'm not walking around with a suitcase of bitterness anymore either. I don't stalk her socials. Don't wonder who she's seeing. She made her choices. I made mine. The best part? People finally saw through the lies. Quietly, in their own time. The narrative she tried to spin unraveled, and I never had to raise my voice. It turns out truth doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs patience. So yeah, I lost a marriage. But I found myself again. And honestly, that's a trade I'd make every single time.